What's going on, guys? I am super excited to be making this video today. Thank you to one of my subscribers, Tommy. A massive thanks to this guy. He's probably, I'd say, at least 4 times smarter than me when it comes to coding in Google Sheets. So he was able to come up with a code that tracks your portfolio growth in a chart over time. A lot of you guys have been asking for this exact thing. So here's all of my stocks, right, with some crypto, and then here's my current value. But a lot of people want to be able to chart your value over time so you can watch your portfolio grow. And especially if you've been investing for several years now, you don't just want to see a number like this. We got 105,000. That's great, but what did I have last week? What did I have last month? And what did I have last year? How can we track that in Google Sheets? No one had a good answer until my boy Tommy came along, sent me an email, showed me all of this, and he wants to share it with all of you guys. So here it is, guys. Pretty much, I'm going to start off with showing you what's the problem, how do we fix it, and then I'm going to dive into his code and how we could create this. It's not a long code. He was able to make it as efficient as possible. So it's really not that many lines of code that we have to deal with. It's not like it's going to be my dark theme portfolio tracker that was over 2.5 hours long, but it's a very effective code. So this is the goal right here. You want to track your portfolio growth over time, and we could see, oh, great. In 2019, I had $33,000, and 2020, it was at 58. Right now, it's at 104 or 105 right now. All right, so a lot of people want this function, and the only way to do it is you gotta be able to track, whether it be every month, every week, every day, even every minute. You need some kind of table that is polling your price and then giving it or allotting it a certain timestamp, right? So I want to know, maybe this is the first of every month. So the first of the month, what does this say right here? Oh, okay, it says $6,713. A month later, then it's going to pull that again. It's going to pull whatever the price is for that day and then plug it in. And then after several years, you could have a chart like this. Now, what's great about what Tommy was able to do is we could even get down to a day chart. So this was today. This was this little hypothetical portfolio that I made. And what was cool is we could also track maybe our liabilities as well. So you're really seeing what your true net worth is throughout the day. And then here's throughout the lifetime. Now, how come we only have a couple of days? Well, because I made this a couple days ago. So it could only track from today on, right? It's not like you could pull data from 3 years ago. I'm sure there's a way, but it's literally pulling this tab right here every minute, or in this case, every day at a certain time. It's saying, okay, what does this say? Oh, it says $25,660. Let's now make that a new point on the chart. And then the next day, if it's whatever, 27,000, then it'll post that on the chart, and the chart will grow over time. So this is what's actually happening behind the scenes, behind the chart. And I'm going to explain all of this. I'm going to explain this side in a second, but let's focus on this side. We got a daily chart and then a lifetime chart, or table, it should really say. But if I scroll all the way down, and if we wait here long enough, we can see we're on line 615. This is every minute it's updating. So if I wait here long enough, boom, right there, it just updated. And you can see it's really not changing since the last couple of minutes because the market is closed. And the only thing that might possibly move it right now is cryptocurrency. But every single minute this is updating. You see anytime maybe Google Finance malfunctions, there are some NAs, but that doesn't affect it. I mean, it just won't pick that up. And for the fact that we're getting every single minute here, I mean, it's not going to show an NA. It's not going to break the chart, which is great. And we don't have to do every minute. We could have it every 5 minutes. We could have it every 10 minutes, every hour, however you want your time frame. Now, you could see, maybe you notice this has changed, right? Because this wasn't all the way down before. This was showing the lifetime. Well, that's because if we switch between a day or lifetime, then if we jump back here, this updates. So this is what we're pulling over here. So I'm going to show you exactly how we're doing this, what the code looks like, all of that good stuff. And it's not going to be on my Patreon because it won't work if you guys try to download it. You know, there's a couple reasons why it's not on my Patreon, but it's not going to be on Patreon, so you got to watch the video to its entirely, right? But you'll see exactly how to do it. Guys, it's not going to be that hard of a video. Again, huge shout out to Tommy. We all thank you for this. A lot of us has been waiting for something like this. Let's dive right in exactly how to do this, and make sure you stick to the end because there are a couple of features that I'm not going to go into that Tommy made that I will show at the very end for your more advanced Google Sheet people. But we need to start with a simple chart like I had in this one. So I'm just going to kind of copy this right here. So I'm going to go Control X, jump over to the blank one, Control V. So there we go, everything's loading. And what do we have here? All I'm doing is I have a couple of stocks, right? And I put in the quantities. Here's price, pulling from Google Finance. And then I'm multiplying the price and quantity together. Very basic stuff here. Same with crypto. And then liabilities, I just wrote down a hypothetical. All right, $25,000 worth of student debt, $400 worth of credit card debt. Just so we could have that as well. So once you have that, whether you're using one of the portfolio trackers we made before or you're starting fresh, then we need a net worth. You're going to do equals, sum, and then we are going to want to sum all of this. Whoops. F4 down to F16. Hit enter. Not F16, F15. And there we go. It's $25,668. You can make this a color if you want. So we will make that nice bright orange that I have. We'll bold that and make the text white. There we go. Maybe we could make the font a little bit bigger because that is our total value. Italicize it if you want. And you don't have to follow this color scheme. I actually do have, I made a nice little dark theme one as well. If you guys like the dark theme, here's what it would look like. But I'm just going to stick with the traditional blue and orange colors that I have with my channel. After we have this, we're not even going to worry about the sheet that we need yet or any of that. We actually will rename this whatever you want, investments. All right, and then we want to add a new tab, rename this. We're going to name it PVD space, then in parentheses, auto, okay? I think this is price versus date. Tommy actually never told me what PVD is, but I'm assuming it's price versus date, which makes sense. And what we could actually do, so I did lie, we can start a couple of things over here. In A1, we want to hit equals, go back to investments, and we're going to want to pull wherever our total value is. All right, so I just pulled my total value. For me, it's in investments F16. And then on top of that, what I'm going to do is actually in J2, and you'll see why. I am going to, I'm going to make a little drop down. So I'm going to go to data validation, and we're going to change this to list of items. And we are going to have a lifetime. So lifetime, comma, and then we are going to have one space day, okay? We're going to save that, and we could choose whatever. It doesn't matter right now. We're going to go back here, and in C1, we're going to hit equals, jump back to investments, and then we're going to select J2, okay? So again, it doesn't have to be J2. It doesn't have to be F16. It's just wherever you're going to have your charts for lifetime and the day chart, and we could add other stuff like a 6-month chart, 5-minute chart, whatever you want it to be. But wherever this chart is needs to go into C1. And then A1 needs to be wherever your total value is or your net worth, whatever it might be. So here's the net worth. That one is going in to A1 in this sheet. All right, and then we could fill right here. We'll do dynamic chart. We're going to go over to D. This will be daily table or daily chart. This is going to be 0, so that's important. E has to be 0. This will be lifetime chart. And instead of table, we'll make a chart. Even though it's a table, we're just going to name it chart. So everything looks the same as the original one. And then that's also going to be 0. So the most important thing is having G1 and E1 as 0, having this as wherever your drop down is going to be, and then this being your net worth. Now we could jump over to tools. I'm going to go into script editor. All right, and we are going to make 2 different files just to stay more organized. So we're going to go here. We are going to rename this one daychart.gs. All right, and then we are going to add a file, add script, and we are going to name this one lifetime chart. And you actually don't have to do .gs. It's going to update that for you anyway. So let's rename and let's delete the .gs. So there we go. We got day chart and lifetime chart. Very simple. This is going to be the longer one. Guys, it's only 24 lines long. So again, Tommy made this as easy as possible for us to follow along. But the first thing we're going to want is function. And then we're going to want to do daily chart. Okay? See how the C is capitalized. Open and close. Space, squiggly bracket. Hit enter. Now we're going to have to create a couple of variables. So we're going to have var ss equals spreadsheet app dot get active spreadsheet, which is right here. Open and close. Semicolon. We're going to hit enter. Our next var. So var sheet equals ss dot get sheet by name, open, quotation. Now we want to pull the PVD space, open parentheses, auto, close parentheses sheet. And then we want to do another semicolon. So now we're moving on to our next var or variable. So var value equals sheet dot get range. And then you guys could probably already guess what range are we getting. We're getting A1. So we want A1 dot get value, open and close, and then semicolon, moving on to the 4th var. So this will be var range equals sheet dot get range, and then we're going to want quotation E1 colon E, so that's going to pull all of E, right, the entire E column, dot get value, get values, plural, okay, open and close, semicolon. Next is var last row equals null, semicolon. I'm sorry, that's not the last one. This is the last one. Var I equals 0, semicolon. All right, so that's all of our vars. Double check, make sure I have no spelling mistakes or no syntax errors. If you have something that's not capitalized, it will not work. So like if this V wasn't capitalized, that's wrong. It needs to be capitalized. Everything needs to be spelt right too. You can't have a colon instead of a semicolon. That will break the code. You guys should know this by now if you've watched some of my other videos. So after that, we're going to drop down and we're going to do while open. We're going to do I is less than range dot length. Go on the outside of that. Then we want to do some squiggly brackets. If, so it's a while if statement. Open parentheses, range, open square bracket, I, go on the outside of that square bracket, do another open square bracket. We want this one to be 0, go on the outside of that. Then we want to do exclamation point, equals, equals, open and close parentheses. Then we want to do another squiggly bracket, hit enter, and then we want to do I plus plus, semicolon. Then what we want to do, don't hit enter, but instead drop down because we want to be now on the outside of this. Space, else, open, squiggly bracket, hit enter again, and then we want this to be last row equals I plus 1, semicolon, space, break. Then we want that to be squiggly. Then we want that to be a semicolon. Then we have squiggly bracket and squiggly bracket there. And then this little space I have here on row 16. So go at 15, hit enter. What we actually want right here in between these two squiggly brackets, we want sheet.getRange, which is right there. Open parenthesis. And I don't know what to call this, but it's below the escape or above the tab. Hit shift and then hit that, not that key, don't hit shift. Hit that key, so you have these. So they're not quotations. Again, I don't know what to call them, but they're right below the escape button. So when you hit that, you want to do E, then $, then squiggly bracket, last row, close the squiggly bracket, go on the outside of your parentheses. We're going to hit period, set value, and then we want that to be value. All right. So after that, we're done. We could actually delete this space that I have there. So we're done with that. Make sure we're almost done actually. So we have 5 more lines, and then this is it for our day chart. And I just realized I was making this in a lifetime chart. So if you messed up like me, just hit Control X, jump over to your day chart, and then just paste that in. But pause the video right now. Make sure that everything is right and there's no errors whatsoever. And then we'll move on to the last 5 lines in this script. All right, so after that, and I also just double checked, it doesn't look like I have anything spelt wrong. We're gonna do another function. So we want function day chart delete, open and close parenthesis, and then we want squiggly bracket, hit enter. We want var ss equals spreadsheet app. So we want that dot get active spreadsheet, which is the bottom one. Open and close, go on the outside, do semicolon, hit enter. Then we want another var. We're going to do var sheet equals ss dot get sheet by name, which is right there. And then we want to do the same thing where it's going to be pvd space auto. And if you guys didn't make it pvd.space auto, you made it something else, make sure that, like, that's what that is on the inside, so the code knows what sheet you're actually pulling it from. If you have one spelling mistake, you spell auto wrong, or if there's not a space, it's not going to be able to pick it up. So after that, we're going to hit enter, and we're going to do var range equals sheet dot get range, which is right there. And then what we want is open quotation E2 colon E, not semicolon, it's colon, all right? And then semicolon on the outside of that, hit enter, and then the last thing we want is range.clear, open and closed, semicolon. So pretty much what this function is doing is after the day is over, it will delete that, right? You guys are going to start to appreciate Tommy's code the more we actually walk through it and create it, because it's so simplistic but so genius what he came up with. So we could save that if you want. You could run that, and you see it just had the permissions pop up, and then allow it. You're gonna have something like this. Go to advanced, then go down here where it says go to untitled project. That's unsafe. It's you, right? It's not a virus. It's you trying to give access to yourself. So hit allow, and there we go. Execution started and completed. That's all good. Now we can move on to the lifetime chart, which is slightly easier. This is only 16 lines, or 17 if you count the squiggly bracket. But it is going to be function space lifetime chart, open and close. Let's spell chart right. Chart, open and close, squiggly bracket, hit enter, Now we got some variables again. So we're going to do var ss equals spreadsheet app dot get active spreadsheet, open and close, semicolon, hit enter, and then we want to do var sheet equals ss dot get sheet by name equals quotations pvd auto, close that, go on the outside, we're going to do semicolon. Now this is where it gets a little different as opposed to the day chart. So it's going to be var value equals sheet dot get range, and then here we go, it's going to be a1. Well, I guess this is pretty similar. The next line will be different. Dot get value, open and close, another semicolon, hit enter. Here's where it's going to be different. Var, well, only one thing's going to be different. Range equals sheet dot get range, and now we want to pull from h1 semicolon h, go on the outside, dot get values plural, open and close, semicolon, and then that's where, like, this is important, right? Look at this, it's already starting, like the code's already starting and working. You can see that we just got our first daily one in, which is pretty cool. But this is where it's important, right? It's determining on what you're pulling from and where. That's why you want to make sure it is in the right chart. And you see how it's in G and not H? I actually messed up right there. So just go here and go insert one to the left. So we want to pull H. So H, right? And then that's where we're pulling. It says H for the lifetime. So, I mean, if you're not an H for whatever reason, if you're an I, if you're in G, that's just where this has to be. So instead of me pulling from H, I'd be pulling from somewhere else, okay? But the zeros, you need the zeros. You get the zeros, it's not going to work. So after the range, what we now want is var last row equals null, semicolon, hit enter, var I equals 0, semicolon, hit enter, while I is less than range dot length. Don't spell length wrong. Me and a lot of people always spell length wrong for whatever reason. Hit enter. I was never a good speller. If range square bracket I, so you can see there's a lot of repetition, right? Square bracket O. So if you messed up on the first one, you're definitely going to mess up on this one. Exclamation point equals equals space semicolon semicolon. On the outside, squiggly bracket, hit enter, I plus plus. Guys, if I'm going too fast for you, you could always rewind, pause, all that good stuff. Obviously, I want to make the video as time efficient as possible. So after we have the semicolon, right, what we want to do is drop down, and we want to do else, open, hit enter. This is going to be last row equals I plus 1, semicolon, enter, break, semicolon, go down these two squiggly brackets, hit enter, and then we want sheet dot get range, open parentheses, the thing that's below the escape button or above the tab button, again, whatever it's called, I'm not sure, H dollar sign, whoops, H dollar sign, open squiggly bracket, last row. See how the R is capitalized? But you guys should know that by now, what has to be capitalized and what doesn't. Dot set value, which we could just select that right there. Value, and boom. We're done. Pause. Make sure everything is correct. And I just checked my work. It looks like I have everything right. Again, you could save it, you could run it, do all that good stuff. Just because we have execution completed with no error message doesn't necessarily you have everything right. Keep that in mind. You could have a mistake in here, but the computer at least thinks everything's right. So that's always not a foolproof way. But if you have to pause and really look this over, here's the lifetime chart. And we're jumping back over to the daytime chart. Here's the daytime chart. Guys, not hard at all. We got 24 lines of code and 17 lines of code if you are counting the squiggly brackets. If we go back here, look at this. You could already see the lifetime chart and the daily chart working, but it's not complete. There are a few more things we have to do. 3 more things. We're not writing any more code, but we got to go into triggers. So this is a really important part. So if you jump into triggers, add a trigger. And when you're trying to add a trigger, if you didn't do the execution where it came up with that error message where we had to grant permission, it would happen here. Because this is another thing, you're making a change to the sheet and you're trying to get access. But what we want is for the daily chart, we want it to be head and we want it to be time driven. And then this is where we get to choose. What do we want? Minutes, hours, days, week, month. So this is your chart. This is your however long you want it to be. So I'm going to do a minute timer, right? Because this is going to be for the daily. And I select every minute. I think it's really cool to see every minute. If you don't want every minute and maybe you want every 5 minutes, 10, 15, or 30, choose whatever you'd like. I'm going to do every minute and then I'm going to hit save. So that's one, it's in there. Again, if you have that error message, follow the prompts and then accept it. But after we have that one, we need to add 2 more. So now we need a lifetime chart and we're pretty much pulling the 3 functions we made. So a lifetime chart is going to be head and it's going to be time driven again. And instead it's going to be daily. So for the lifetime, maybe you don't want daily, maybe you want every week or every month. We're going to do daily for now, and you can choose whenever. So I'd say at the close of, the market close is probably the best time. So 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. is when I'm going to select. I'm going to hit save. All right, so that's 2. Add our last trigger, and what's it going to be? It's going to be day chart delete. And pretty much what this is we're going to do time driven again. And this is going to delete when we want it to. So I'll do the hour timer, not the hour timer, do the daily timer, and I want it to delete right before market opens. So maybe during pre-market. So 8 a.m. is probably a good time. I'm not really looking at my computer until 8 a.m. anyway. So right at 8 a.m. is when yesterday's data would delete, and now we have fresh data that we could start to trace. So that's what the daily chart delete is. So now we're almost done. Well, we're done with the code, which is great. So we can jump back here and look at this. So it's already filling in. So we got our dailies already starting to fill in, but there are just some really simple functions we have to create now, and that's going to be right here. It's actually going to be in a couple of things. We'll actually start over here, the daily chart. So what we want the daily chart to be is just equals today, open and closed, hit enter. So that's our today's date, right? And then over here, you don't want to do equals today. What you actually want to do is manually punch in whatever today's date is. So we're doing 6-21-2021. That is what today's date is for me. And then here's the function below. So we're going to do equals if open G2, so if G2, which is right above, is less than today, open and close, comma, G2, which is false. So G2 plus 1, or it's false during my time of recording, comma, open and close, enter. Hit enter, and it's blank because it's saying that G2 is not less than today. G2 is today, right? But if this was, say, this was 620, we hit enter. See, now it says 621. So it will automatically update every single day. Then a new time will come. And how are we going to do that? We're just going to drag this down. I'll keep it 620. It doesn't matter. But you just drag this all the way down, right? So we could drag it down to 1,000. If you are doing every minute like I am, what you'll actually have to do is create another 1,000 rows, because I think it's like, whatever, like it'll go down to like 1,600 or something. So that's the only annoying part. You got to keep dragging the function all the way down. So here we go. Keep on dragging, 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 dragging. And I mean 2000, now this is for days, so 2000 days is several years. So you don't have to worry about, oh, you need to make new cells every couple of months. Like, no, I'm now good for several years if it's going to be 2000 days. And then the daily chart again will go probably down to like 1600 or something like that. And then it'll reset every single day. So now that we have that, the last function we need, and then we can play around with making a chart, and we're pretty much done. So we're going to do equals if, open parentheses, $C, $1 equals 1 day, and that's in quotations, comma, then we want D2, comma, if, and again, $C, $1 equals lifetime, and that's also in parentheses. Then we want G2. Close that, hit enter, and then boom. So once we have that, what we want to do is now take this, drag it this way, and you see how it now pulled that, right? So that's what we want, and you can see this is pulling D2 and G2, and this is pulling E2 and H2, okay? So now what do we want to do? Well, we want to take this function, and that's right, we got to drag it all the way down. So go all the way down to 2000. I'm not going to go down to 2000 just for the sake of time. And then drag that all the way down to 2000 as well. And then we should be good with this. I added some color, so if you want to add color, go for it to just kind of separate the two. So I separated these two by making it blue, orange, and then these over here, making it blue. Then we could change the text to white so you could actually see it. Change that text to white, and then I actually then put a line through it. I made the line thick as well. So nice thick line. Again, I bolded it and everything, but this is just because this is our dynamic chart and this is tracing our daily and lifetime chart. So right now this says lifetime, but if we jump over to investments and change lifetime to 1 day and then go back, see this changes to 1 day. And now here's all of the data we're collecting for today. All right, so now we could create the actual chart. So what you want to do is just highlight that. You don't need to highlight everything, and you'll see why. You're going to go to Insert Chart, and you should see something that looks like this. We're now going to go to this, click on that, and change this from C1 to C2000, or actually C1 to C, because that's just grabbing every single one now, okay? And then what we want to do is the same for the x-axis, but instead we want to grab this right here. So we're going B2 to B, and that's grabbing every single day. And once we do that, and you may be thinking, why does this line look like this? Well, it's pulling this data, but because everything's up to 2000, what we have to do is go to Customize and Vertical Axis, I believe. Yeah, minimum. Let's bring minimum to, how about 25500. And there we go. Now we can actually start to see what it looks like, okay? You could change this, so the title, instead of that, change it to Portfolio Performance, center that. You could add the colors like I did. For now, we're just gonna kind of keep it like this. What we wanna do is hit Control X, or well, I guess hit Control C, go over to Investments, hit Control V, so we could paste this chart into here. I'm just gonna kind of move this over like that. I'm gonna move this up, and pretty much what I had, again, you can make the chart the size that you want it. So I pretty much had it the same as this one. I moved the G in like that. We'll bring this out to there, bring this up. Now here's one thing that I really like doing with charts now. So double click on this again, and then go to Setup. And what you want to do is, not Setup, Customize, Chart Style, Background, no background, Border, no border, right? So now there's no background or border. We could highlight everything we want, where we want the chart to be, which is here. merge all of this and then make this whatever color you want. So say I want that light blue that I always use, and then put this over. It's just so the chart doesn't like have some kind of formatting error. It just looks cleaner this way, in my opinion. So if we put this here, and again, I mean, you guys know how to do the colors. I don't think I need to necessarily go over the colors. You know, you want to make it look like mine. Here it is. Here's the nice color theme. I was able to change the line. I changed the text. And then if we go to the dark theme, which I love how the dark theme looks. Maybe you guys do, maybe you guys don't, but use the nice neon blue with an off black background. I think it looks really nice. But whatever your style is, go for it. The last thing for at least the chart, the top, you want to do that. Merge these and name this like time frame. And then we can center that. You can bold it. You can make it bigger. And then I change the color. And guys, we're about to look at Tommy's original thing that he sent me, so you could see a few extra things. But now the only downside that we have here when you're looking at a day chart is, let's say like the stock tanks and it goes all the way down to like 20,000. You're not going to be able to see it because we have the minimum set for 25,500. So you would actually have to go back to your minimum and change it, right? So let's say our minimum was 30. You can see right there, it moves everything down. It's not even letting us do it because that's our minimum there. But if your minimum's like 3,000, see, it just looks like a straight line. And that's just because all of the price movement is up between these ranges. So it's the only downside when it comes to the day chart. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the biggest issue, but it is what it is. So you may have to readjust that just so you could actually see the chart of what's going on here. And you could see, I mean, if we jump back over to auto, here, we could delete that. We're starting to get a couple of entries in. And I mean, because the market's closed, you're seeing a lot of repeats. And that's why you're kind of seeing like these long periods, and then it goes down, long period, go up. But if we jump back to what did today actually look like when we have a lot of data, here it is. You have these crazy little movements, which is really cool seeing that come together. And because I made this one a couple of days ago, if we go over to the lifetime, we could actually start to get some data formulating. And then if you wait long enough, you could start to get a chart that will actually look like this. So if I made this when I started investing, which obviously I didn't, but I wanted you guys to see what the potential could look like, this would be on a monthly chart, a monthly time frame, which we now know how to do. We go into the trigger times, right? The time triggers, and we just have to do monthly instead of daily, and then wait 3 years, and then it'll look like this. So that's what we could do now. We could start to create really cool charts like this. Here is what Tommy sent me when he was making it. You know, he was writing all of these intricate notes. If you guys want to pause and take a look at the notes that he had. So here's step 1, 2, 3 through 19 on the other page. So here is, I mean, he's on a different level. But here's all of his notes. Here's 5 through 11. Pause if you want. Jump down to 12 to 16. Again, pause if you want to read his work. And then here's 17 and 18. Give that a pause as well. Now here is one more thing that Tommy did. He did go a step further, and I just didn't put it in here for the sake of the video. But you see he has 1 day, 5 day, 1 month, 6 month, a year, and then lifetime. So if we look at lifetime, we look at a year. Here's 6 months. Everything's going to change according to exactly how it all is. But you could see where it says chart, update chart. Just because there were so many different, we have the daily, we have the lifetime, we have the 5 day, the 1 month, the 6 month. If we go over here where our data actually is, you could see it actually isn't, we don't have that function that we had to make. And let me just refer to it. See how we made this function, the if function? He doesn't have that here, and that's because it's actually within the code. So if we go to script editor, there are a couple of other codes. So we have the daily chart and the lifetime chart. But then we have time frame charts and sync. I'm not going to go over it all, but I will show you guys his work. If you want to pause, here's line 1 through 33. And let me scroll down. Here's 34 to 69. You could hardly see it, but there's 69. And you can see, I mean, the video would have been a lot longer if I showed you all this. Again, if you want to pause to get this, this is just doing all of those different time frames. If you want to see multiple time frames like he has, and then sync. So this is, instead of doing the function, that if function I was talking about, he is actually creating that function within the script. So if you want to pause, here's 1 through 35. And let's go down. Here's the last bit. So anytime it gets updated, you could see right here, if C1 value is 5 days, then it knows where to pull from. So a lot more complex. Video would have been a lot longer. And then for the triggers, we have more triggers. We have the 6 month, we have the 5 day, we have the 1 year. So like, let's see, what exactly is he doing? It's not too much different. Well, I actually can't go into edit because he was the one that created it, but he's just choosing for 5 day, whatever his time frame is for the 5 days, maybe, you know, every 5 days. And then the lifetime is just going to be every day. The 1 year is once a year, or however, the 1 month, that's what we would do if we wanted to create something like this. We'd want the 1 month to create that kind of chart. But that is Tommy's work. He brought this to life, and he wanted me. I feel so, you know, honored that he wanted me to be the one to put it onto YouTube for you guys to see. But guys, if you like this video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you want to, drop any comments. I'll comment. I know Tommy is also very active on YouTube, at least on my channel. He's already been answering a lot of questions on other videos. So I'm sure he will try to answer any questions you may have for him. And guys, that is all I have for you. I think this is one of the coolest things that I have seen in Google Sheets yet. So again, just a huge shout out to Tommy and everything that he was able to do for us. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next one.